Live from New Delhi, you're watching D-Day India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next hour. Reflecting on global turning point in disaster management 20 years after the massive Indian Ocean tsunami. Japan Airlines hit by massive cyber attack, local and international flights severely impacted. Ambush by ousted Assad loyalists kills 14 security personnel as unrest spreads in Syria. And in Boxing Day Test, Jasprit Bumrah helps India fight back, but Australia take day one at the MCG. So it's been 2 decades since the 2004 tsunami struck. On this day, when the world awoke to one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. An undersea earthquake in the Indian Ocean triggered gigantic waves of up to 30 meters in height, claiming over 300,000 lives, causing unimaginable destruction across the Indian Ocean. Within 2 hours of the quake, killer waves reached India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia and Thailand. An hour later, Maldives, and 7 hours later hit Mauritius and the east coast of Africa. Effects were even felt in North America and Antarctica as well. India was amongst the hardest hit regions, particularly the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The tsunami also caused considerable destructions along the coastline of Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Kerala and Andhra Pradesh, the South Indian states. And tearful mourners gathered on Thursday to remember the 20th anniversary of the Indian Ocean tsunami, one of the world's worst natural disasters, which claimed over 200,000 lives across Asia. In Indonesia, which was hardest hit by the tsunami, residents of the Aceh province held vigil prayers commemorating the loss of lives of more than 100,000 people. Family members of the deceased gathered at a mass grave in Banda Aceh, scattering flower petals on gravestones. In Phi Island in Thailand, a ceremony was held at the Sailfish Sculpture Plaza to remember the victims of the disaster that struck on December 26th. Relatives of the deceased, local residents and Thai and foreign tourists attended the event. Participants observed a minute of silence and presented floral wreaths to a team of divers who placed them at the underwater tsunami memorial of Tonsai Bay in remembrance of those hundreds of people who lost their lives due to the mishap. Meanwhile, in Sri Lanka, where more than 35,000 people were killed, survivors and relatives gathered to remember victims of the Ocean Queen Express train disaster, which claimed nearly 1,000 lives after tsunami struck the train. And the fishermen community in Chennai took out a peace procession and offered prayers to the sea gods. This village was devastated by tsunami in 2004, with high tidal waves reaching 1.5 kilometers on one side of the habitation.
We lost our relatives in 2004 tragedy. We have taken out a peace march in remembrance of those. We have worshipped sea gods so that same tragedy doesn't befall our village again. And the people who perished in the tragedy get a place in heaven. We hold these prayers every year.
And now 20 years after the Indian Ocean tsunami, how prepared is India to face such a threat again? Dear India's Tapos Bhattacharya brings you an in-depth look at the nation's readiness to tackle future tsunamis.
2 decades ago, on December 26, 2004. A powerful 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck near Indonesia, causing a deadly tsunami. It affected India's coastal areas. The massive waves claimed around 228,000 lives and caused nearly $10 billion in damage. With no warning systems in place, most victims had no time to escape. India's public broadcaster Doordarshan was quick to respond during the 2004 tsunami. As information dissemination was crucial, they played a vital role in covering rescue efforts directly from the disaster zone.
This place has become a graveyard. The silence of death is all around, and even the sound of the sea cannot drown the silence.
In response to this tragedy, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System was created to monitor seismological changes and issue alerts for impending waves. It receives real-time data from national and international networks, detecting earthquakes of magnitude 6 or greater within just minutes. Key sensors in the deep ocean confirm the triggering of a tsunami.
After this tragic event, which took about 230,000 lives and then impacted so many countries within the region, so the UN gave the mandate, provided the mandate to UNESCO's IOC to establish a end-to-end tsunami early warning and mitigation system in the Indian Ocean region. So that was when the ICG, it's called the Intergovernmental Coordination Group for the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System, that was established to actually coordinate with all the countries in the region, all the stakeholders within the region and outside the region to work together.
The Early Warning Center sends advisories to the Ministry of Home Affairs and State Emergency Operations Centers through satellite, phone, fax, SMS and email. Today, thanks to these robust early warning systems, India and other Indian Ocean countries are much better prepared to handle such disasters.
From a nation caught off guard in 2004 to a global leader in tsunami preparedness today, India has come a long way. The establishment of the National Disaster Management Authority symbolizes India's commitment to safeguarding its people against future calamities. With camera person Piyush, this is Tapush Bhattacharya signing off for GD India from Hyderabad.
All right, to talk more on this, we are joined by our reporters. Ritesh Ranjan is joining us from Chennai and Fatima Sara is from SSTV Maldives. Fatima, I'll come to you first. Memorials and religious ceremonies scheduled in some of the worst hit countries. Are the emotional ceremonies happening there too in Maldives to remember the people who lost their lives 2 decades ago?
Thank you so much. As we mark the Unity Day to mark the 20th anniversary of the disaster that killed 83 people and left 26 people missing in the Maldives, the day actually began. The day began with a minute of silence, for which President Dr. Mohammad Muiz and government officials, cabinet ministers, senior government officials, and people from the local offices in government posts came out to the streets near the president's office and across streets in other areas as well. And they observed this minute of silence at exactly 9:23, which is when the waves struck the Maldives Islands. And this was also observed in some of the other islands, not just the capital. It is a very emotional day. 20 years on, still the disaster is fresh in the minds of those who experience loss and devastation and lost loved ones. Of course, today we are holding several other events to mark the day. There is an ongoing exhibition at the National Art Gallery where photos and videos and other illustrations and artworks of the day are being exhibited with the information that people would need to know, especially younger generations who didn't experience it.
Fatima, also 20 years to 2004 tragedy, it is also a moment to reflect on the progress made in strengthening disaster resilience. You think many countries are better prepared now?
Of course, and I think just now you showed us a report that is based on India has always been supportive to Maldives in any kind of disaster or anything, and regionally also we see the support. So this system that India has will help us as well. In addition to that, we also have established this year in August, the National Broadcaster Public Service Media announced that the digital terrestrial broadcasting project, which aims to provide timely disaster information and general information, has now been established in 12 islands, and it's complete. So this is by far a huge step that we've taken, because when the 2004 tsunami struck, Maldivians were new to this, and nobody knew what a tsunami was. Even the name was an alien word for us. So now, 20 years later, I believe not just the Maldives, but many of the countries who face these disasters is much more prepared.
All right, Fatima, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your views. Ritesh, I'll come to you now. 2004 tsunami, one of the worst natural disasters in human history. Mourners plan to gather there for ceremonies?
Well, you can see that I'm standing behind a community center. Today, early morning only, a local fisherman community from here, they took a peace procession. This is where I am currently right now. It's a fisherman community area, and ECR, East Coast Road, it's a fisherman community area. So the fishermen took a peace march and they again went to the sea and offered prayers. I happened to speak one of the fishermen here, and they were saying that, for me, sea is Ganga, Ganga Mata. So we offer prayer to our, Mata that, such kind of disaster should not occur again. And we offer prayer also for those whom we have lost. So, and after that, after the prayer, they came to this community center, and there was a gathering, and then condolences messages were there. So people are still hurt, whom I have spoken to fisherman community, male, female, all of them came together, and they are still having the grief whom they have left, their loved ones about that. And after that 20 years, as we were discussing earlier, how we have enhanced ourselves. So in that case, I would like to say that 20 years before, it was the first time we got to know what tsunami is.
Yeah,
it was first time, and then we started looking out for technologies, how we can predict in advance all these kind of measures. And then there was a setup established in Hyderabad, and Tamil Nadu government also established, and we have central organizations like National Institute of Ocean Technology, National Center for Coastal Disaster, Coastal Research, and there are many more. So these organizations are, and IIT Madras, we should not forget that. They are actually working constantly on these kind of technology, and now it is not only about how we can enhance and safeguard ourselves. Now they have already come up, and they are still working, and we're working ahead that how we can actually make use of this blue economy for our growth.
All right, Ritesh, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us your views, your inputs from Chennai. But we are also joined by Ravi Kant Singh, Scientist F, National Center for Seismology. Welcome, Ravi Kant Singh. Welcome to DD India. Appreciate you giving us your precious time. 20 years to 2004, the event remains one of the worst natural disasters in the history, and India has learned from the tragedy. And you think proper systems are in place now to avert a recurrence?
Could you repeat? I could not hear the complete.
All right, I was asking you, so has India learned from the tragedy, and you think proper systems now are in place to avert a recurrence?
Yeah. Since around 2004, we were having a network for monitoring the earthquake activity, earthquake which can generate the tsunami. At that time, we were having around 62 stations, and out of 62 stations, those around 50% were only analog sensors. They were not connected in the real time to the earthquake monitoring center. Since then, we have come forward a lot. Right now, we have 166 stations all connected to the VSAT in real time. We are monitoring the data in real time at the Earthquake Monitoring Center, and with the help of the latest digital sensors and latest auto location software, we are capable enough to detect any earthquake of magnitude 3 and above within India, within less than 10 minutes.
Also, Mr. Singh, we saw the fisherwomen taking out a peace march in Chennai. How have people in affected areas coped with the personal loss and moved on?
Actually, that was the tragedy. So these are the time we have to look behind and learn the lessons from learn the lessons from the mistakes, or we can say the unawareness. So we should be aware. We should. The government has taken a bold step. Since every disaster, the monitoring network has been augmented step by step. At that time, during 2001 Bhuj earthquake, there was only around 40 stations to monitor the earthquake activity. And those stations, out of 40, around 20 were only digital. And now, 2004, only 62 stations were there. Out of that 62, around 39 was digital. Since then, now we have 166 stations which are capable enough to detect the earthquake of magnitude 3 and above in anywhere in India, and within less than 10 minutes. So every disaster teaches the lesson.
Yeah.
How to prepare.
So you are saying India and other countries are better prepared now?
Yeah, better.
All right, Mr. Singh, thank you for giving us your precious time. Sorry, we are running short of time. We'll have to wind it up here. Thank you. All right, moving on to our next story now. In fact, we'll slip into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
December 26, 2004, a devastating earthquake off the coast of Indonesia triggered a tsunami that swept across the Indian Ocean. India was one of the worst affected countries. Today, after 20 years, we reflect on the tragedy and explore how the nation has since fortified itself against such calamities.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Japan Airline systems returned to normal with same-day ticket sales resuming after a cyber attack delayed some domestic and international flights. The attack began at 22:24 GMT and affected the company's internal and external systems, post which the company shut down a router that was causing system malfunctions and had also suspended ticket sales for flights departing on Thursday. No customer information was leaked, however, the company said, and it suffered no damage from computer viruses. All Nippon Airways, or ANA, Japan's other major air carrier, saw no signs of an attack on its systems. So Japan Airlines is just the latest Japanese firm to be hit by a cyber attack, and the country's space agency JAXA was targeted in 2023, although no sensitive information about rockets or satellites was accessed. And the same year, one of Japan's busiest ports was hit by a ransomware attack blamed on the Russia-based Lockbit Group. And in 2022, a cyber attack at a Toyota supplier forced the top-selling automaker to halt operations at domestic plants. And more recently, the popular Japanese video sharing website Nico Nico came under a large cyber attack in June. So a cyber outage refers to a disruption in the availability or functionality of digital systems, networks or services caused by a cyber-related issue. And cyber outages can affect critical infrastructure, businesses and individuals, leading to financial losses, reputational damage and service disruptions. Now let us take a look at the recent cyber attacks around the world. If you go back in 2019, Verizon experienced an outage lasting approximately 3 hours on June 24. The failings of a protocol known as the Border Gateway Protocol (BGP), which is responsible for joining networks together and directing traffic between them, caused all Verizon's internet traffic to be routed through TQE Communications, a small ISP in Pennsylvania. In 2020, Google suffered a worldwide outage with failures reported across the company's services, including Gmail, Google Calendar and YouTube. The outage was caused by a failure in the company's authentication tools, which manage how users log in to services run by both Google and third-party developers. Then in 2021, a slew of major websites including Amazon, Reddit and news publishers like the New York Times were affected by a massive internet outage. Fastly released a software update in May 2021 that contained a bug. In 2021, Facebook faced issues when a configuration error called BGP led to the company accidentally deleting its own address from the systems that allow servers to talk to each other on the internet. Although that error was spotted immediately, it took several hours for the fix to be enacted and take effect. But on 19th July 2024, businesses and governments worldwide were disrupted by a major IT outage. The incident affected 8.5 million Microsoft Windows devices and led to widespread disruptions of airlines, banks, broadcasters, healthcare providers, retail payment terminals and cash machines globally. All right, moving further. In Syria, 14 members of the police were killed and 10 others injured in an ambush by forces loyal to the ousted government in Tartus countryside. The clashes took place after security forces sought to arrest an officer under deposed leader Bashar al-Assad, who was linked to a notorious prison. Syrian new interior minister has vowed crackdown on anyone who dares to undermine Syria's security or endanger the lives of its citizens. The ambush comes as demonstrations and an overnight curfew elsewhere mark the most widespread unrest since Bashar al-Assad's removal more than 2 weeks ago. The doors of Syria's prisons were flung open after rebels ousted Assad more than 13 years after his brutal repression of anti-government protest triggered a war that has killed more than 500,000 people. Meanwhile, Israeli military vehicles made incursions on Wednesday into the area of separation between the Israel-occupied Golan Heights and Syria. Vehicles were seen driving in and out of the fence that separates the UN-patrolled demilitarized zone created after the 1973 Arab-Israeli war, an activity that has continued since the fall of Bashar al-Assad regime. The United Nations Security Council last week extended a long-running peacekeeping mission in the Golan Heights for 6 months and expressed concern that military activities in the area could escalate tensions. And in another update, Israel and Hamas are trading blame over their failure to conclude a ceasefire agreement despite progress reported by both sides in past days. Hamas said that Israel had laid down further conditions, while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused the group of going back on understandings already reached. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has said that Israel will retain security control of Gaza, including by means of buffer zones and controlling posts. Katz added that Israel will ensure that there are security spaces, buffer zones and command posts in Gaza that will ensure the security of the communities.
It is clear what we saw in the area of the penetrating tunnels, what we saw in the area of threats, while we saw the heroic war that eliminated these capabilities. How will we make sure it will not happen again? How will we ensure that security control will be in the hands of the IDF, which will be allowed to act everywhere to prevent threats? We will ensure here in Gaza, as with Lebanon, as with Syria, and in the East, that no more threats will be created against Israeli communities, citizens of the State of Israel, and IDF soldiers.
A prison riot in Mozambique's capital Maputo left 33 people dead and 15 injured as civil unrest linked to October's disputed election continues. A day after violent protests and looting spread across Mozambique's capital, smoke billowed from destroyed buildings and charred and broken objects in shops and municipal buildings remained as residents gathered in the streets. A decision by Mozambique's top court on Monday confirming long-ruling party Frelimo's victory in the election sparked fresh nationwide protests by opposition groups and their supporters who say the vote was rigged. The country's police general commander Bernardino Rafael blamed protests outside the prison for encouraging the riots inside the prison, while Justice Minister Helena Kida said that the unrest started inside the prison and were not linked with protests outside. Rafael said about 1,534 people escaped from the prison in the incident, but 150 have now been recaptured.
What we expect after the escape of 1,534 inmates who committed major crimes in the country is that in the next 40 or 48 hours, there will be dizzying increase in crime in Maputo. Increase of all types of crimes because they are specialists in all types of crimes. There will be an increase in robberies, assaults, rape of women, car theft, armed robberies, even kidnappings.
Vai subir o crime de roubo.
Now, Taliban's Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned Pakistan Shah Affairs in Kabul on Wednesday to protest Tuesday's airstrikes in Paktika province, which they say violated Afghanistan's airspace and targeted Waristani refugees. Handing a formal protest note to Abdul Rahman Nizamani, Pakistan top diplomat in Kabul, the Taliban warned Pakistan that such irresponsible actions will have consequences. The airstrikes in Barmal district killed at least 46 civilians, including women and children, and injured many. The incident has further strained relations between Kabul and Islamabad, already marred by mutual accusations of harboring militants. The strikes, while drawing sharp criticism both domestically and internationally, have raised substantial concerns about the escalating tensions between the two neighbors, with the fear that this may deepen the existing divide and destabilize the already volatile region. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India's President confers Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar on children for exceptional achievements. Veer Bal Divas being observed in India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembers sacrifice of the Sahibzades. And preparations for the Mahakumbh Mela, the world's largest and most revered spiritual gathering, are in full swing in Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. Reflecting on global turning point in disaster management 20 years after the massive Indian Ocean tsunami. Japan Airlines hit by massive cyber attack. Local and international flights severely impacted. Ambushed by ousted Assad loyalists kills 14 security personnel as unrest spreads in Syria. And in Boxing Day Test, Jasprit Bumrah helps India fight back, but Australia take day one at the MCG. An Azerbaijan Airlines passenger that crashed on Wednesday in western Kazakhstan after travelling far off course. The death toll due to the jet crash has now reached 38 out of the 67 people that were on board. The Embraer 190 aircraft that was supposed to fly northwest from the Azerbaijani capital Baku to the city of Grozny in Chechnya in southern Russia instead flew across the Caspian Sea and went down near the city of Aktau in Kazakhstan. According to Azerbaijan Airlines, among all the 67 people on board, 62 were passengers and 5 were crew members. Kazakh media reports showed that the passengers on board included 37 citizens from Azerbaijan, 16 from Russia, 6 from Kazakhstan and 3 from Kyrgyzstan. Azerbaijan Airlines has suspended all its flights from Baku to Russia's Chechnya region until an investigation into a fatal crash involving one of its planes is finished. The airline also held a press briefing at the Baku airport on the crash in which it assured psychological support for the kin of the victims.
A medical team and a necessary medical equipment have been sent to Kazakhstan by air. A hotline has been established for the family members of the passengers on board, and the public has been informed about it. Psychological support will be provided to the family members of all the passengers regardless of their nationality as well as to the injured passengers.
Meanwhile, Russia's emergencies ministry has sent a medical evacuation flight to Kazakhstan to bring back Russian nationals who survived the Azerbaijan Airlines plane crash. The ministry posted a short video showing the special medical evacuation flight being ready to depart Moscow for Aktau. The IL-76 plane will carry a team of doctors and psychologists as well as essential medical equipment as per the ministry. Now, US President-elect Donald Trump's threat to reclaim the Panama Canal has met with fierce opposition from Panama's current as well as former presidents. Trump, in earlier statement, has claimed that the Panama Canal is a vital asset for the US while slamming the fees paid by the US ships to pass through it. The statement has drawn widespread reactions as Panama considers the canal as its own territory. The canal is an artificial route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans while also saving ships from long, perilous journeys across South America. The canal was built by the US in 1914. It was handed over to Panama in 1999 during the presidentship of Jimmy Carter, with the US relinquishing its control over the canal by signing the Torrijos-Carter Treaty. Shifting focus, South Korea's main opposition party said it will introduce a bill to impeach acting President Han Duck-soo and hold a vote on Friday. South Korea's opposition said Thursday it filed an impeachment motion against acting President Han Duck-soo after he refused to appoint Constitutional Court judges to fill the vacancies. Meanwhile, country's Constitutional Court will hold its first hearing on Friday in the case of President Yoon Suk-yeol after Parliament impeached him over his short-lived martial law decree on December 3rd. In a news conference, two lawyers for Kim echoed much of the argument made by Yoon after he lifted the declaration barely 6 hours later, saying it was a decision necessary to eradicate anti-state elements that were threatening the country's democracy.
The martial law was to raise alarm, and what's very clear is that there were no casualties and troops were withdrawn in an orderly manner after the martial law was lifted.
People are mixing the declaration of martial law and the defense minister's measures regarding martial law and accusing them of an act of insurrection. It's not right.
Now, South Korea's political landscape faces insignificant In fact, significant uncertainty as the Constitutional Court prepares to hear the impeachment case of President Yoon Suk Yeol. Following his impeachment, Yoon's powers are suspended, with Prime Minister Han Duck-soo acting as president. As a report on key issues for South Korea's road ahead.
After being impeached on December 14, Yoon's presidential powers are suspended, but he remains in office and appointed Prime Minister Han Duck-soo as acting president. The Constitutional Court must decide within 180 days whether to remove Yoon from office or reject the impeachment. If the court removes Yoon or he resigns, a presidential election must be held within 60 days. The court is due to hold its first preparatory hearing on Friday. Ex-Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun was the first of a series of officials to be arrested and is likely to be the first to face indictment on accusation of being a central figure in President Yoon Suk Yeol's surprise martial law declaration. Under South Korea's constitution, 6 justices must agree in order to oust an impeached president. The current justices would have to vote unanimously to remove Yoon. The court has said that it can deliberate and hear arguments with just 6 justices. There is precedent for an acting president appointing a constitutional court justice, as occurred when former President Park was impeached in 2016-17. In South Korea's only previous presidential removal by impeachment, the court took 3 months to oust Park in 2017. In the case of Park, the court voted unanimously to remove her, including some justices viewed as conservative and 2 Park appointees. Yoon also faces criminal investigations related to the martial law decision. If charged, he could ask the Constitutional Court to suspend the 180-day clock on the impeachment ruling. The court denied a similar request in Park's case. In 2004, then-President Roh Moon-yoon was impeached on the charge of failing to maintain political neutrality as required of a high public official. The court rejected the motion after about 2 months, and Roh fulfilled his 5-year term. Bureau Report, DD, India.
Now, India's President Draupadi Murmu conferred the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar on children for exceptional achievements in 7 categories in New Delhi on Thursday. 17 children hailing from 14 states, UTs, have been selected for the award. Government confers the Bal Puraskar to children for achievements in art and culture, bravery, innovation, science and technology, social service, sports and environment. And addressing the awardees of the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar, President Draupadi Murmu emphasized that the children play an important role in shaping the future of the nation.
आपने जो काम किए हैं वो साधारण है, आपने जो हासिल किए हैं वो आश्चर्यजनक है, आप सब जो क्षमताएं हैं वो असीम है, आप सब में जो गुण हैं वो अतुलनीय है, अपने देश के बच्चों के लिए आदर्श प्रस्तुत किए हैं। आप जैसे बच्चों की उपलब्धियों ही भारत को उन्नति के शिखर पर ले जाएगी, ये मेरा विश्वास है। वर्ष 2047 में जब हम स्वाधीनता की शताब्दी मनाएंगे, तो आज के पुरस्कार विजेता लगभग 25 से 40 वर्ष आयु के प्रबुद्ध नागरिक रहेंगे। ऐसे प्रभावशाली बालक और बालिकाएं विकसित भारत के निर्माता बनेंगे।
And India is observing Veer Bal Divas today, marking the martyrdom of Sri Guru Gobind Singh's sons Sahibzadas Baba Zorawar Singh Ji and Baba Fateh Singh Ji. Remembering the immortal sacrifices of Veer Sahibzade, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also attended a cultural program at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. PM Modi later interacted with the children who had given the cultural performances on the occasion of Veer Bal Divas. He also appreciated the efforts put by the children to bring out such an organized and impressive performance. PM Modi also launched Suposhit Gram Panchayat scheme, which aims at improving the nutritional outcomes and well-being by strengthening implementation of nutrition-related services and by ensuring active community participation.
हर देश के युवा को अपने देश का भाग्य बदलने का मौका देता है। एक ऐसा कालखंड जब देश के युवा अपने साहस से, अपने सामर्थ्य से देश का कायाकल्प कर सकते हैं। देश ने आजादी की लड़ाई के समय देखा है, भारत के युवाओं ने तब विदेशी सत्ता का घमंड तोड़ दिया था। जो लक्ष्य तब के युवाओं ने तय किया, वो उसे प्राप्त करके ही रहे। अब आज के युवाओं के सामने भी विकसित भारत का लक्ष्य है।
And preparations for the Mahakumbh Mela, the world's largest and most revered spiritual gathering, are in full swing in Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj. Beside rivers, a makeshift city is being built to host millions of pilgrims and visitors from across the globe. It is estimated that around 400 million pilgrims, more than the combined population of the United States and Canada, will be visiting during the 6-week-long Kumbh Mela. The sacred pilgrimage is celebrated 4 times over a course of 12 years at the site where the holy Ganges, Yamuna and the Saraswati rivers meet. But this edition from January 13 to February 26 is expected to be a mega draw, as it is set to coincide with the special alignment of the planets. And still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India achieves milestones in tourism development. World number 1 Arena Sabalenka is 3rd straight Australian Open title. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. More than 18.89 million international tourists arrived in India in 2023. Domestic tourism also reached a remarkable milestone with 2,509 million visits recorded. The foreign exchange earnings from tourism surged to rupees 2,31,927 crore, underscoring this sector's pivotal role in the nation's economy. Further, India's tourism sector witnessed significant achievements in 2024, with the Ministry of Tourism implementing a series of landmark initiatives and recording impressive growth in both domestic and international tourist arrivals. The ministry also informed that it launched several new initiatives to strengthen India's position as a global tourism destination, starting with Chalo India campaign aimed at engaging the Indian diaspora as ambassadors of Incredible India. The campaign offered 1 lakh free e-visas to foreign tourists, further encouraging inbound tourism. Additionally, the Incredible India Content Hub was unveiled to provide the global travel and tourism industry with high-quality content promoting India as a must-visit destination. And India's Ministry of Commerce and Industry and Transview Solutions India Private Limited signed an MOU to drive innovation in India's manufacturing and startup ecosystem. Dr. Uttam Singhal, founder of Transview Solutions, and Sumit Jarangal, Director, DPIIT, signed the agreement in the presence of Sanjeev Singh, Joint Secretary, DPIIT, and Purushottam Singhal, TWI Group. Transview's Pure Prakriti app offers a 1-year free subscription, 100,000 credit points and free mentorship on carbon mitigation and startups to embrace Green Industry 4.0. This groundbreaking app diagnoses carbon footprints in seconds and provides strategies for immediate offset and neutralization, marking a milestone in India's journey towards sustainability. Sports updates now. We'll start with Border Gavaskar Trophy. Latest updates from Boxing Day Test. Australia's top 4 all stand 50 or better on Thursday to take a firm grip on day 1 of the 4th Test against India. After opting to bat first, their hosts reached 311 for 6 by close in front of more than 87,000 fans at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Sam Constas scripts history on his Test debut during the Boxing Day Test. Constas hit 60 of 65 balls to become second youngest Australian to achieve this feat. At the close, patient Steve Smith was not out on 68 and Pat Cummins on 8. Marnus Labuschagne made 72 and Usman Khawaja 57. The 5-match series is locked at 1-1 after India won the Perth Test by 295 runs before being crushed by 10 wickets in Adelaide. The rain-affected 3rd Test in Brisbane was drawn. An Indian batter, Virat Kohli's conduct came under the microscope in the Boxing Day Test in Melbourne on Thursday after a clash of shoulders with debutant Sam Constas. Kohli was booed by the spectators after bumping into the 19-year-old as Constas walked down the pitch for a chat with opening partner Usman Khawaja at the end of the 10th over. Kohli and Constas turned to face each other and exchanged words, prompting umpire Michael Goff and Khawaja to step in to defuse the moment. The International Cricket Council bans inappropriate physical contact, and those found guilty can be suspended for matches if the offence is deemed serious enough. And the Indian contingent has concluded their campaign at the Asian Youth and Junior Weightlifting Championship in Doha with a rich haul of 33 medals. India's youth lifters in the age group of 13 to 17 years led the charge by winning 21 medals, including all 7 golds. The junior lifters in the age group of 15 to 20 years added 12 medals to the tally. The 16-year-old Joshna Sabha stole the spotlight on the opening day. Competing in the women's youth 40 kg, Joshna swept 3 gold medals with a total lift of 135 kg, setting a new Asian record. Pal and Sanjana won 5 medals. The championship featured competitions in 40 categories, which included 20 each at the junior and youth levels. In tennis, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka says she is fresh and ready to go in a bid for a 3rd straight Australian Open title. The 26-year-old enjoyed a sensational 2024, reaching 7 finals and winning 4 titles, including the US Open. The Belarusian tennis star was named the WTA Player of the Year 2024, marking the first time she has received the prestigious honour. If Sabalenka wins again, she will become the first woman to claim 3 straight Melbourne Park singles titles since Martina Hingis between 1997 and 1999. And South Africa won the toss and put Pakistan into bat on the opening day of the first test at Centurion on Thursday. The home side named their team on Tuesday with 30-year-old fast bowler Corbin Bosch to debut in an all-seamer bowling lineup. South Africa are chasing a place in next year's World Test Championship final. In order to do so, they must win at least 1 test in the 2-test series against Pakistan. Pakistan also selected a side without a specialist spinner with Mohammad Abbas, Amir Jamal, Naseem Shah and Khurram Shehzad in their bowling attack. Football now, as Premier League is back in action. Everton is all set to lock horns with Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium on Thursday. Both teams have been inconsistent this season and have a point to prove in this fixture. Everton held Chelsea to a draw in their previous game and will need to take it up a notch this week. On the other hand, Man City are in 7th place in the league table and have been shockingly poor over the past year. The home side slumped to a 2-1 defeat at the hands of Aston Villa last week and will need to work hard to bounce back in this fixture. And manager Pep Guardiola said Manchester City are at risk of missing out on next season's Champions League due to their recent dip in form. City, who are looking to qualify for Europe's top club competition for a 15th straight season, have won just one of their last 8 Premier League games and are at 7th position with 12 points behind leaders Liverpool. Guardiola's side are 4 points behind Nottingham Forest, who occupied the fourth and final Champions League qualification berth. And a ranger at a national nature reserve in East China's Zhejiang province has devoted over 20 years to capturing images of Sika deer to raise public awareness for biodiversity protection. He first started taking pictures of Sika deer in 1998. Since the National Nature Reserve was established that same year, Zhang has continued to take on responsibilities for monitoring, protecting and photographing the species. And India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want content for free, then download Waves now. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.